Supposed to immerse yourself in it. You're supposed to read everything that you can about it and listen to everything you can about it and watch everything that you can about it and be around all these people that are in it and that are successful. You're supposed to just immerse yourself in it. But see, when it comes to this type of industry, there's a lot of copycats out there. And it's not really the copycat part, because you always follow something that is successful. You don't try to reinvent the wheel. You might try to improve on it, but you don't try to totally break away and disrupt it when there's no need for disruption. Sure, there is room for disruptive business ideas in certain areas because it's needed. Uber and Lyft are a great example of disrupting the ride for hire industry. Other people call it taxi industry, but it's more than just taxi. You've got limos and coaches and things like that. So the ride for hire industry has been totally disrupted and upended by the likes of Uber and Lyft and a few other smaller ones out there. That's good. But in this industry, what you get is people don't. If you want to become a success, you got to try to make it on your own. Because what they'll try to do with you is say, "Oh, well, geez, all you're doing, you're just another Rush or another Hannity or another Beck or another Savage or another, this person or that person." So I don't immerse myself in it. Yeah, there's a few that I listen, and I admit I listen to Rush. But you know what? I rarely repeat anything that I know Rush has talked about. Only if it's really, really important. Because I'm different. That's what's making me popular and successful. Because people are hearing something different. Trump is something different. He is not your typical, well-rehearsed, well-polished, professional politician. He doesn't act like one. He doesn't sound like one. He doesn't like them. He doesn't want to be one. And people are figuring that out. And they're liking him for it. Now, I don't care what anybody says about, Trump. I have no issue with Trump being elected and serving. Not be a two-term guy, as far as I'm concerned. Definitely a one-term president would not be bad. And whoever rides his coattails would have the awesome opportunity of following him and being president in 2020. The one thing, Trump may not be a politician. In other words, he doesn't supposedly know all this stuff that a politician is supposed to know. But see, one thing about Trump is that he's smart enough to know that he's dumb in a lot of areas. Trump does something that is absolutely amazing. He follows the advice that John Paul Getty once gave. Now, John Paul Getty at one time was considered the millionaire maker. If you work directly with J. Paul Getty, if you didn't become wealthy and rich, it's because you didn't listen to him. But John Paul Getty was known for surrounding himself with people in certain areas that were much, much, much smarter than he was in those particular areas. And he had no problems with paying well for those people. And in turn, those people worked so hard for him that they made John Paul Getty one of the richest people who ever lived. And in turn, many of them became very wealthy themselves. Donald Trump is the same way. He will surround himself with the best people that he can possibly garner within the sectors that he needs the best people in. He's always been able to do it. In fact, people line up. Donald Trump his businesses, they're not shy or short of finding qualified candidates. Look at, this is how that his TV show first started. The Apprentice. They weren't celebrities out there doing this for charity. First 3 seasons? They were regular, 3 or 4 seasons. They were regular people like you and me that were just trying to impress him enough so they get hired by him. Because people wanted to get to know, get to work with, and have some of that wonderful knowledge rub off on them from Donald Trump. So look at a Trump presidency and tell me that he's not going to find the biggest, baddest, brightest people that are available. And I got to tell you, I think there's going to be a lot of people who will be willing, throwing themselves at Trump, telling him, yeah, I'll do that for you, Donald. Just put me in charge. I'll do it. I think you're going to have more people, more strong, well-knowledgeable, non-selfish people throwing themselves at Trump to be a part of his administration. There won't be a need for a lot of these old-time, long-time insiders. I think he's going to fill a lot of those cabinet positions and under cabinet positions with people who are not familiar with D.C. That won't be a bad thing. I think it'll be it might be a little painful for the United States if Donald Trump is in office. I'm telling you, it very well might be, because there's a lot that he's got to do to turn this country around. It's not going to be painless. It's not going to be easy. Look, people are behind him. They're sending him their hard-earned cash when he's telling them he doesn't need it nor want it. They're sending it to him anyway. Think about that. People are sending Trump stuff, money. He doesn't need it, want it, and hasn't asked for it. And yet, without even asking, with even saying that he doesn't want it, in a 3-month period, he's collected. Don't tell me that people would not get behind him and people would not, he wouldn't be able to find people to fill the positions of importance that he needs. Oh, no. Donald Trump's problem is going to be that he's probably going to have like 5,000 resumes for each open position that he has. I mean, like 5,000 resumes of overqualified people for each position. I have no doubt the man is going to have a very hard time picking and choosing between a lot of positions. Now, he probably already knows some key positions that who he wants. And trust me, if that's who he wants, he's probably going to get them. I have no doubt he's going to have more than enough highly qualified people applying to fill positions that he's going to want. Now, those are people who aren't government people. Say the same for all the rest of the politicians. Like Hillary Clinton, we're going to have the same administration as we do now. You elect some of the other GOPers, and you're going to have pretty much the same as we've always had. Not going to be much change. Not going to be much change in how Washington works or doesn't work. Trump and Carson, those are the two disruptors in politics right now. Like Uber is to paid for higher transportation, Trump and Carson are to politics. That's not a bad thing. Not at all. And you lefties, I know the left is beside themselves because they fully understand that if Trump is in, they're out. Look, he's already thrown reporters out of his press conferences before. Do you think he's gonna stand for any shenanigans at press conferences when he's president? Do you think he's going to allow his press secretary and his press department to stand for any shenanigans? He would probably give them orders. Anybody gets out of line, throw him out. Equivalent of being fired. Just say I'm again, I am not in the Trump camp. I'm in nobody's camp right now. Like the more I listen and hear about and talk about Trump and see what he's doing, the more I kind of like the possibility of a Trump presidency. I'm serious. The more I get, I don't see any other candidate being able to accomplish and do what Trump can do. Now, is that something that we really want as a nation? Do we want to be that disruptive for 4 years? I'm getting to the point where I'm saying, why the hell not? Do we want somebody who's a little bit more softer in their approach, like Dr. Carson? Probably not a bad idea either, because he's another smart guy that knows how to surround himself with smart people. Do we want to go the professional political guy route with a Rubio or a Cruz? Now, I know I'm probably going to get some hits. Cruz? No, Cruz is another polished politician. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean I don't like him. I do like him. But he's another. I got to tell you something, and this is and it's not a negative. It really isn't a negative. But Ted Cruz reminds me a lot of a Richard Nixon. He does. Just in his style, his looks. Not that he looks like Richard Nixon, but appearance of him. He just his temperament a little. Richard Nixon was not exactly a mild-mannered person, and neither is Cruz. But there are some Richard Nixon-esque qualities about Cruz, and I can't help but make the comparison. And again, I don't think there's any. Tricky Dick got caught doing something he shouldn't have done and trying to cover it up. But you know what? About every modern politician has been. Look what we got now. Makes Richard Nixon look like a Boy Scout, and the one that wants to take his place. Oh, she's even worse than the one that's already in the office. But I'm not saying that Cruz is corrupt or would be corrupt or that he's corrupting things, but there is a lot of Richard Nixon in him. Again, that's not a bad thing. Oh, but he was a decent politician and a decent president. He did give us the EPA, but nobody's perfect. But do we really want Bush? Well, Bush is nothing more than a Bush. Sorry, the third Bush in the. Do we really need or want another Bush? Another Bush in the White House, the third one within a generation. Do you realize that? It's only been 25 years. Miss Bush, I mean, do we really need to do that again? I don't think so. In any event, Trump, his coffers are swelling, even though he doesn't want them to swell. Well, there's always one thing about true wealth and true, smart, friendly, wealthy people. If they do what they're supposed to do with their money, and this is in the Bible, you will be blessed abundantly with more than you can handle. And it looks like this is the way Trump is going.